Welcome to Concussion Talk Podcast. I'm Nick Mercer. This is episode 66. Concussion Talk Podcast is presented by HeadCheck Health. HeadCheck Health bridges the gaps in concussion care through simple, powerful technology. Join organizations like the Canadian Football League, Track Factory Racing, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, Eastern Washington University, and Volleyball Canada, who rely on HeadCheck Health to improve communication and optimize care. Visit headcheckhealth.com for more.
Okay.
I'm talking now to, I don't want to call her my guest because she's a co-host guest of it, Tara Bradbury. And Tara, by way of introduction, I guess you can talk about why you decided to join me on this Concussion Talk podcast and talk about the series you wrote 9 years ago on brain injury or just in brain injury in general, and why you're interested in this subject.
Yeah, sure. Well, why I'm joining on the podcast is because I think you're awesome and I like your podcast and
Thank you.
I like the awareness that you bring, and I think you have an amazing story for sure
Thanks.
that I was happy to tell people in the
Yes.
Telegram 10 years ago, and I'm really happy to see your progress and to call you a friend for sure. So
Great.
I'm a reporter for the Telegram in St. John's, Newfoundland, which is part of Saltwire Network. And a while ago now, 2011, when I first met you, I had done a series on brain injury called The Wounded Brain, and it was really interesting. And so that's how my interest in traumatic brain injury began. And I kind of kept in contact with some of the experts that I worked with for that series, and kind of, it's something that still interests me now. Yeah.
Well, so why did you write? Why did you decide one day? I guess they just said to Saltwire or the Telegram at the point said, "Do you want to write a series? Or do you want to write a series?" Or you said, "I want to write a series about brain injury." Well, how did that
Yeah.
come about?
So I pitched the series I had, and it wasn't supposed to be a series in the beginning. So there was a reader who contacted me, Kim, and she's in the series as well. And she's passed away.
Wait, it's a 6-part series, right? Just a
6-part series, yeah.
Okay.
And so she's I think third in the series, but she was the one that started it. So she had contacted me. She was a Telegram reader, and she had a story. And so she had brain injury. She suffered from cataplexy, which what it is. So it's basically a condition related to narcolepsy, where she would have these cataplexy attacks where she would just kind of go paralyzed. So she'd look like she's sleeping, but
Right.
she wasn't. She wasn't able to move. She wasn't able to respond to anything, but she was fully aware, in her brain. And so she could hear people talking. She just couldn't respond. Like her body couldn't move. And she had been in hospital for a different reason and had one of these attacks. And
Right.
the nurses accused her of faking.
I honestly don't know much about cataplexy except for what I read in your series.
Yeah, it's related to narcolepsy, where you would randomly say fall asleep. Only
Yeah.
it happened.
Randomly, you'd be paralyzed.
Yeah, she wasn't asleep. She'd look asleep,
Yeah.
but she'd still feel everything. And so she was in hospital for something else, and this happened to her. And the nurses, who didn't know about it, I guess, had apparently accused her of faking for attention and
Yeah.
that. So she contacted me wanting to do a story about that, to raise awareness about that issue.
Right.
And as part of that, telling that story, she had given me permission to speak to Dr. Hugh Morello, who's
Yes.
Yeah, you know him well. So he's
I don't know actually. Never met him. I know of him, but I've never met him. Yeah.
Never met him.
Yeah.
He's his only neuropsychiatrist.
Yeah.
So she gave me permission to speak to him, and so I spoke to him. And then when I did that interview, it was clear that it wasn't just one story. Like, I was in the interview 5 minutes before he said something like, "Oh yeah, traumatic brain injury is a pandemic. More people have this than will ever have the H1N1," which was happening
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, people have it and they don't even know they have it." And he was saying, a lot of people getting treated for depression actually have brain injury, and things like that. So then it was like, whoa, okay, what?
Yeah.
and he treats certain patients with autism as having brain injury and has success with it. And so it's like, okay, it's not just one
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So I did 6 parts. People living with brain injury and the consequences of having a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
Uh, you were like the pièce de résistance, right? You were the
Well,
last
thank you.
of the series because you had done so much to overcome it. And so I kind of tried to focus on people, like different types of traumatic brain injuries. So yours was a concussion from a sports
Yeah.
accident. Well, yeah.
Coma. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there was another guy who had he was a teenager and he had hit his head off a door frame, a metal door frame, and didn't have any effects until years later when he was diagnosed with depression and medication wasn't working, that kind of thing. Then he eventually got diagnosed with traumatic brain injury and had all kinds of success. Then I did one where I spoke about the old hag. You know what it is?
You
Some
already,
people.
yeah, you remember that just that's the first time I actually heard of it,
Oh,
but then
really?
this is of course 9 years ago now, but then other people would be like, oh yeah, that happens all the time, or like they're
Yeah,
used to that.
yeah. A lot
That's,
of
you
people
want to
get it.
tell people
I've,
about it because it's a
it
interesting
is.
condition. Yeah,
It is an interesting condition, and they say, and I've never had it. I've never experienced it, but I mean, I know a lot of
neither have
people
I.
talk about it, and it's supposed to be like, it has like mythical. Basically, you're asleep
Yeah,
and you feel the old hag pushing on your chest, and
yeah,
like like a dream, but they feel it's real.
yeah,
And so it's actually a brain condition where and it usually happens when you're half awake and half asleep, and it's but basically like a hallucination.
yeah.
So I explored that for one. I did a story on a lady who had been brain injured by like chemicals from a burning computer that she
Right.
was.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I did the story with Kim, the original girl who was talking about her cataplexy attacks and that kind of thing. And so tragically, so as the series was running, um, I witnessed firsthand what she was saying about people accusing her of faking because I had gone to her house. So I had the series all planned out. I had the stories written, and I think the first one had run at this point. Hers hadn't run, and we had to go get a picture of her to go with the story. So
Mm.
I'd gone to her house and met the photographer there, and I, introduced him, and he took the pictures, and he went on. And Kim used a wheelchair as well. She had some other conditions, and so she was using a wheelchair, although she could walk short distances, but she lived alone.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I was there, and then the photographer left, and I sat and chatted with her for a while. She was, really nice, and we were having a chat. And so in the middle of the chat, she had a cataplexy attack,
Mm.
and I only knew what it was because she had told me, because I'd done an
Yeah.
interview,
Yeah.
and Dr. Morello had explained. And so I kind of, because I had asked as part of the interview, what happens when someone does that, and so I made sure she was breathing, that kind of thing, and kind of got her moved so she was like lying on her couch. And then I called Dr. Morello. I said,
Yeah.
"What do I do?"
While she was there, how long was
Well,
she? How long was
there.
the attack?
Oh well, so I'll tell you what happened. At this point, like I knew she could hear me because I
Yeah.
knew what it was,
Yeah.
and so I called him, and he said, "Well, she's okay. If her breathing is okay and her pulse is
Yeah.
okay, then she's just gonna come out of it. But
Yeah.
I mean, don't leave her. I wasn't gonna leave her,
No.
right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, "If you have to leave, then call an ambulance or call
Yeah.
somebody."
Yeah.
And so I had my child that I had to pick up, and that was, that
Right.
was waiting for me. The daycare was calling, and I didn't know what to do. So I was saying, like, because I knew she could hear me, saying, "Kim, I'm going through your purse to get your phone, to see your contacts, and like
Yeah.
that." And I knew she wasn't fond of paramedics because they often, well, what they're trained to do when somebody is not responsive is to do, the sternum rub with the
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
pinched nail beds to try and inflict a pain response.
Yeah.
Feel it, but she can't respond. So
Right.
it was challenging. And so I had to because I couldn't, I didn't, I was worried about her and I didn't feel that I was equipped to take care of her. You know what I mean? In case anything
Yeah.
happened. So I called them. I stayed till they came. And when they came, I explained to them what was happening. And they said, "Did she tell you she had this condition, or did her doctor tell you she had this condition?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, both."
Yeah.
And they said, "Okay," and they were really gentle with her and
Yeah.
that, and then so they took her, and the next day she called, and she was fine. She called me at work the next day and she said, thank you, and she said, I could hear everything was happening and I could hear on the phone Dr. Morello saying, yeah, maybe you should call the paramedics. And I was saying in my head, no,
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't feel that I didn't, in case something happened. So she came out of it and she was fine. She said it was about 4 hours that it lasted.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but she
4 hours.
was fine. But she passed away later after that. I
Oh,
mean,
it's
yeah, she'd
like
been home
years or
no
that few weeks
weeks.
or
Weeks. She had been home alone and suffered a cataplexy attack in her bathroom, I believe, and fell and hit her head.
and was
And
bleeding and couldn't do anything about it.
and by the time she had a care worker that was coming and that was there on and off, and yeah, and they got her to hospital, and I think she passed away in hospital. But it was tragic, really
Yeah.
tragic.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
witnessed firsthand what she had been saying about people being skeptical of that this was actually a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The, the
yeah. I
the
mean,
brain is the brain is an incredible thing, and people that it's not understood obviously very well. And I know it just even for me, and I'm doing really well. I'm doing well now, and but I
yeah,
mean, remember how frustrating it was just when I was just trying to walk, and I was just learning to walk in, and I still have this issue where I stumble, and I left side is not very coordinated and stuff, and
you
people
still
people assume you're if I push if I fall or whatever, assume I'm drunk or whatever, or assume I'm
is that
or
true?
or think, or even with my speech is a lot better now, but when it first, I don't know, bunch of years. I can't say what years, but like especially when I'm tired, I slur my speech and I trip over words and stuff, and
Yeah,
people will just make assumptions about your mental capacity and stuff,
yeah,
and your
yeah.
sobriety and stuff. So it's that's
Right.
really not. I say, annoying is not enough, not, but yeah, it's really
Yeah,
more than annoying, but yeah,
which is why it's important to raise awareness. Do you
yeah.
find that your speech gets worse when you're tired?
Yeah, yeah.
When
When I
yeah,
late in the day, it gets when I'm talking to friends,
yeah,
it's easier because they know, like, good friends
yeah,
just understand me just of time. They'll say what are you saying, so then I'll be
yeah,
that's fine. But like, or they'll just or does most of the time does know my pattern of speech and get me. But when
yeah,
I'm talking to people I don't know or I don't know as well, say don't know, but then I really try to force my words out and make clear stuff, and
yeah,
that's a bit tougher. And then it starts to build up, and as I try to make my words clear, like it's that tiring, and then that's tiring, and then that's tiring, and then that's tiring, and
yeah,
it goes
yeah,
and on, and get more tired and stuff. So it's a downward spiral, but it's kind of like that. But
right,
yeah,
right. Do you find that if you miss nights of sleep, or if you're lacking in sleep for a while, that not just your speech, I guess, but do you find like the effects of your brain injury kind of get amplified by lack of sleep?
well, yeah. Well, actually, I'm lucky. I've been these past few, I don't say years, I guess. I've been sleeping really like incredibly well. But yes, I do. Especially when I was
Yeah,
like even when you were starting, like 10 years ago or whatever, I had a lot of
yeah,
stuff going on then, and I was in my sleep. I was find that difficult, like the walking and stuff, which I was having to do more walking, and I could walk, and
yeah,
that would be affected. That'd be
yeah,
affected
yeah,
a lot by the lack of sleep, and then my speech, same thing, and then
yes,
going to and late. I mean, I just realized actually you just said it to mom yesterday. I just went over to her place for lunch or
yeah,
for dinner, and I got to walk yesterday afternoon, and it wasn't, as you know, St. John's here yesterday. It wasn't like sunny out necessarily afternoon. I was out in the gray part of the day. It's kind of like it is outside now. It's gray, but there's like this not dark gray,
yeah, yeah.
and I found my eyes were hurting a
You
bit.
find your
I have my sunglasses on top of my head, and I was like, I should put these on, but I was like, nah. I don't want to put on because it's not sunny out, and I just didn't want to, just stupidly. I'm like that, and I just didn't do it, and and my eyes hurt. Like I was closing my eyes. Like I wish I could
On the glare,
this
like on
audio,
the glare.
but the glare, yeah, I guess the just the whole just brightness, and I
Yeah,
guess I know a lot of people will find like obviously the brightness, like wear sunglasses
yeah,
for brain conditions all the time, and I always said like, oh, that doesn't happen to me, but maybe I should take more care of that aspect just because I have double vision, which I find difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
They and I mean I don't know how it would apply to everybody, but one thing that Dr. Morello has often said that there's a I don't know. I guess it's tricky because there's a relationship I think with daylight and it affects and daylight cycles.
Circadian rhythm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, will how affect your brain. And so he doesn't totally think people should wear sunglasses as much as they do because
Okay.
if you, because it could yeah because it can affect the circadian
Oh
rhythm.
right, yeah. Because if you're but I'm
Yeah.
just like
So
when
he
I'm out in
says
the
that.
middle of the day walking, it's like I need
Yeah.
something to protect my
If you
eyes
need them.
or.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I wear them like when it's sunny out. I wear sunglasses all the time because I like them. I mean, I was yesterday I had them on top of my head and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not gonna wear these now. And I could just easy to have taken like half a second to pull them down, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to. I don't know why I did it. I just wanted to. I think as the pain, I was like, there's supposed to be something good about this. I
Yeah.
tend to associate the pain with something good probably coming from this, but
I
guess
think.
not. But
But quarantine is hard like that. Like
yeah, it
getting
is.
out feels so good. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You want to kind of
yeah,
soak up all the daylight and fresh air that you
yeah.
can.
Exactly. It's like going for walks and like I want to use it as a workout, kind of not working out like tough workout, but
Yeah.
going for a walk. Want to get exercise out of it, but I also
Absolutely.
I'm out there want to just relax and just enjoy being
Right.
outside, and so it's I want
Yeah.
to rush, but I don't want to rush. Like you know what I mean? Like, I want
Mhm.
to go fast, walk quickly, but
I get it.
I don't. I want to be outside longer enough. When I stop walking, there's not much really to do. I mean, you can't go to a patio or anything
No.
like that. Like there's nothing to do. It's just
No.
the walk's over, and that's it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
tough.
So yeah. So thank you so much for you're gonna be a co-host, and so
Yeah. I'm excited.
have you ever coached any well, keep touching my computer. I think I'm making noise from my hands.
Any
Anyway,
pod?
have you ever done radio hosting or
Yes.
done any podcasts before?
I did. We do podcasts sometimes at the Telegram, and so I do them. I've done them there, and I used to work in radio. My first job as a
Oh
journalist
yeah.
was in yeah, I was in radio. So, but it was in the
And
UK.
where?
Yeah, in the UK. I lived
Oh,
over
okay.
there. Yeah, and when I came back here, I had a job in radio, and first they wouldn't let me on the air because they said my accent, because I'd lived in the UK for a long time,
Oh
and I
yeah.
came back, my accent was a bit mixed, and they said it was a little bit confusing for people to hear. It wasn't clear, I guess. 'Cause
But Bradbury is like it's the Irish name, isn't it?
yeah, Irish and English, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was just it was a bit of a mix when I came back, so it took a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. But we do podcasts sometimes at the Telegram. So.
And actually, I know. I remember when you called me. I was in Ottawa when you called me to when you were
Yeah,
first writing the article. I was in Ottawa getting my eye surgery, and you said that you heard my name from your sister, who went to school
yeah,
with from grade 7 until grade 12. I guess so. I was still the whole time.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Aaron
That's
was yeah.
Aaron, and Aaron's kinesiologist now, right?
Oh yeah,
And yeah, she
right into
works.
that. Yeah,
She's an ergonomist. So,
yeah.
but
You
she did
just started that. Yeah,
so she kind of kept up and she knew all about the stuff that you were doing and that. Yeah, that's how. When I was doing the series, she said, "Oh, I know someone excellent. You can speak to my friend."
yeah.
And you guys were friends on Facebook, I think. So that's how I connected
Well,
with you.
yeah, but we're friends on Facebook. Yeah, but we were friends since grade
Since
seven. At 7, I guess. Or
she started.
McPherson because she went to the French version as
Yeah,
well.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. That's
So
right.
so good.
Yeah.
So I remember actually we went to the you hosted a thing the heart what's it called the for the Irish Survey House here,
For the
which
Telegram. So I kind of led a charity for the Telegram for victims of domestic violence, and it was a fundraiser for our Scurvy House, and we did it for 5 years, I think, and we raised lots of money, and and we did like pajama drives, and we would do that a big concert every year with lots of big local acts,
Yeah.
and yeah, and you were a big support. I remember you used to
Yeah.
always come. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
yeah, and
Well,
there,
sorry.
and there's of course I see it, and because I cover the courts for the Telegram now, and
Right.
there's a link between brain injury and domestic violence for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see a
In
lot of that, like in courts, people with doctors there, or
yeah, yeah, and not just obviously it's dangerous in terms of victims of domestic violence, who can suffer head injuries and brain injuries, and of course it's terrible. But there are accused, a lot of criminals and accused criminals who have brain injuries, and and Dr. Morlow has testified as a witness
yeah.
lots of times. In those cases, people suffering from brain injury who have impulsive behavior and you know drug addictions, and because they're self-medicating and things like that. It's common for sure it's common.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
yeah,
but do you yourself have any connection with brain
I
injury?
do, I do. Well, I don't know, they don't. I do. They don't actually. I don't know if they would call it a brain injury, but certainly I have an
No.
injury as a
Oh, that's
result of
right.
concussion.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I have a hearing impairment on one side from a damaged nerve, and they figure that it was because of the bad concussion I had years ago. And so I didn't totally. I mean, I always kind of knew that I had a little bit of hearing loss, what I thought was hearing loss in one ear, but wasn't hearing so well. But then
Yeah.
when I started covering the courts and having to hear really well in big, wooden paneled rooms with high ceilings,
Right. Right.
difficult. So I had a hearing test, and they found that it wasn't that I couldn't hear. It was a processing thing in one ear, that I had a damaged nerve, I guess, and it was mixing up the signal. So I can't tell the difference when people say certain words, like for like weird things like red and gray. I can't tell the difference between,
Yeah.
and things like that. So I have a little device that I wear in court, like a little hearing aid, and then it has a little microphone that I can put up at the front of the room,
I'll
and
say a
and
little,
tap and
you're talking about
yeah,
little
like
spy
a little.
system you got there.
It looks like it. It looks like it, but it's like just a little disc, like the size of a cookie,
Yeah.
and flat like one, and I can put it up at the front of the room, and it's just got like microphones in it, and it'll pick it up and just broadcast it right in my ear.
And
And
does it adhere to, like, can you like does it stick to anything, or can you just, or you have to put those like adhesive pads on the back of it to make it stick to a wall or something, or
the disc,
yeah, or just like
yeah,
in your house, say for example. I
yeah,
don't know how big your
like
rooms are, but do you put it like, do you wear the hearing aid and then put it like in the kitchen, or
I don't necessarily need it at home because it's not so big, but you just lay it on a table, and it's got a pretty good range, right? But
yeah,
it's really cool actually, because I can, it comes with a little clip and like a little thing you can turn into a necklace. So if I
right,
was, and it's got Bluetooth, so if I was driving,
cool,
I could connect my phone to it and
right.
put the necklace on. So if I was driving and a call came in, I could just kind of tap it and
Yeah,
then and do a hands free. But also I
I
can connect the TV. I can stream my TV through it. So if I'm watching TV, I'll wear the hearing aid, because that's a bit of a problem too for me to understand
yeah,
everything. So I wear it watching TV, and it's amazing. It's really cool. So the disc will just connect into the TV, and then I can just sit wherever, and it'll just go right into my ear. Yeah. I mean,
cool,
you'll be able to hear the TV like normal, but I'll be able to hear it extra right in my ear.
right.
Yeah, it's really.
Did anybody in the series, I don't recall now, if they had any hearing ever, or vision, or like light sensitive to your,
Light
was it ever?
sensitive for sure is a thing, but
Yeah,
hearing, no. And that, like, I think no. I think if that had been brought up, if I'd thought about it, I probably would have had a
right,
hearing test.
yeah, right, because you would have realized that, oh yeah, that's me.
But yeah, maybe, but no, I don't think so. Light, definitely, and I know, just if it's not in the story, I know from the kind of research and conversations I've had with experts in years since, I know like a glare is a common thing.
Yeah,
The sensitivity to light is pretty common, and glare, night driving, issues with driving at night or seeing at night is like, do you find, like, if you're out at night and you look at the like a street light or something, do you find it looks like a big star?
it does look disturbed. Always, I think I can't forget if it always has, or but it's not
Yeah,
like nothing. I don't find that as bad. Not that I'm out at night a lot, but
yeah.
I do. I'm trying to think now when my
I think if
when
people,
I'm like going walking towards the sun, like the sun
yeah,
here can get really bright, like on clear days, and
yeah,
when I walk in the I don't have my sunglasses on or if I don't have or when I'm walking even just on the trails, so I can need like if I don't have a
worse
hat
than
I need that. Yeah, I think so, but I'm not positive. But I assume it is
right.
worse for. But I'm not.
Mhm.
It's just because I don't know if I interpret the glare worse than before, but if I
Right.
it affects my if I'm walking and I glare and I can't see that throws the bounce off, and then I got
Yeah.
to concentrate on that too, and then trying to get in that for a double vision, I can get it
Right.
kind of separately, the glare in one
Right.
eye and then not as much in this eye, and then I transfer my consciously consciously transfer my vision to my left eye or
Yeah.
right eye, whichever one. The left eye mostly because the right eye is dominant. And then it takes a second to adjust that, and then my bounce goes a bit, not totally,
Right.
but so it's yeah.
Right.
But
So do you still have to like do you are you still doing like physio or anything? You're all finished all this and you can follow up?
I don't have physio. I go to every week or that. Well, now
Mhm.
especially no one does. But I mean, like
Yeah.
I went to NL Bounce and Business. Like I interviewed Kim, the owner of that,
Right.
last month. Yeah, last month or several months ago, 5 weeks ago, I guess. And and I've been there, and her she and one of her she was the mentor. One of her mentees, I guess, was
Yeah.
Jan Shears, who was my physio when I was at
Ah,
the Miller Center, and I was first. And they're close, and Jan Shears is awesome.
excellent.
So I've been there a few times to see her, and that was actually during the our first state of emergency this year. In the
Mm,
for
yeah.
Newfoundland, we had the St. John's, we had this big
No, my
snowstorm.
goodness.
Snowmageddon. Yes, I was there. I was there just before, and I remember talking to her and her. She had a student at the time, and he was
Okay.
so a student was here, a student from Milton, Ontario, and was here for the big snowstorm. But I
Oh,
remember I was going every 2 weeks, so I missed the week I missed would have been I went on the Wednesday or yeah the I went on the Thursday I think, and then everything was shut down that day and stuff, and the kids getting ready for it because it came on Friday, and then I remember that game. Then I went again 2 weeks later. I remember
right.
also I had to go back because during the after the big snowstorm, the roads were, as you know,
Oh,
impassable
yeah.
to even walk on and stuff. And
Horrible.
I walked with the mom down from Churchill Square where I live, which down to Dimini about City, and so
Hmm.
that's a big
That's a
definitely
fair walk. Yeah.
it's a
Oh my.
decent walk. It's not, but I mean, I had to walk on roads all snow covered and broad and stuff, and I had trouble bounce and stuff, and I got home that afternoon like by like 2:30, and I was just had to lie down. I couldn't even. I mean, my back was really hurting, and
Yeah.
I went back a few weeks later. Well, after I finished my session with Jan, I was also doing bounce sessions and homework with Jan, so I was doing like lots to stand on one leg and straddling
Right. Right.
stance and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I was still trying to at least just had to hold on to it a lot of times, but and and then I was doing that at the end. I was like, my lower back hurts, and she's like, oh, you should come back and see Kevin to get dry needling. So I went back a week later, got
Yeah.
dry needling just to knot my back, and it was fixed totally. Like my back is
Right.
fine now. So that's
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
But anyway, that was
Wow.
a long way of saying that that I don't have a physio permanently, but I will. I intend to go back to Jen nowish, but I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
now is
I know.
not really conducive to that. But I
No.
also, as I was talking to Kim, mentioned to Kim because Kim to me when I first came in there in January, went into Mount Citizens in January that I would be do the becoming bike to get on
Right.
that
Yeah,
this summer. But again, now it's tired
that's
to get.
right.
I don't. I mean,
It
get up for
is.
the coming bike, but I mean, so. But
Yeah.
yeah, she wanted to enter a team for a triathlon, so I was gonna train with the
Oh,
triathlon team there and do a recumbent bike and I swim now. I still swim. I don't swim now, but I swim
yeah.
generally. I can't swim now. Swimming pools are the last places to open. I
Yeah.
would think. I mean, that's just a bastion for disease, and but
Mm,
we love swimming so much. But
yeah,
it's too
I know.
bad.
But
But
if we get the next level, level three, which we would
yes,
get to the beginning of June if all goes well,
yes.
they're allowing outdoor pools to open
Oh
with
yeah,
a limited capacity. Outdoor pools only
nice.
with
Well,
limited number of people in the pool. Yeah, that's a level
maybe
three.
maybe Rotary Park. I can get that there and do some outdoor swimming.
Yeah.
Although outdoor swimming is not as good. And in June, of course, the cold. The water will be cold,
That's it. That's it.
it's tougher to now. And I've used swimming in lakes, but with a double vision, I find it difficult to
Right.
really get a good. And with my not necessarily double vision, but my left side weakness, I kind of veer
Mm.
off course up more. And it's good to have lane ropes to keep me in know where I'm
Okay.
going.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No, I don't.
yeah,
Hmm.
so but yeah, I
Well,
mean that's great at the pools maybe, but I mean of course, after pools don't generally open until end of June or early July, so
yeah.
it's a nice thought by them, but it's not going to be a difference until
No,
July. And then
no,
yeah, so
no.
but I mean,
Mm, that's right.
yeah, yeah. So I'm excited to have a new co-host for first
Mm,
time in well, I've been doing this podcast now since
okay.
2015 into
Yeah.
June, so. Yeah, so do you have any issues you'd like to discuss on the podcast you're thinking? Or have you
Well,
not thought of that? Or
yeah. Well,
I've heard a lot, but
we'll have a think for sure, but I mean, it's definitely something that I learned that affects way more people than I think anybody realizes,
yeah, it is. Yeah,
on different levels.
yeah. Like as I talked to like Lauren, for example, my Phoenix Concussion Recovery
Yeah.
podcast I do with her. She covers a lot of topics, and she's had a bunch of concussions herself from
Yeah.
snowboarding, and she
Yeah.
deals with that population in Utah and
Yeah.
at the slopes and stuff. And I know she has a bunch of different dizziness and chronic pain and dysautonomia. Did you do any? Do you know what dysautonomia is, or
No. What
it's
is
a it's not a nerve condition, but it's just you just have to explain to read listen to the podcast, but it's about almost a scrambling of the brain's messages, and you get tired. And I shouldn't have brought it up because I don't speak as well about it as Lauren does. So, but I will say listen to the podcast
I will.
and it's fascinating. I don't know, let's say to everybody. So, yeah, but I mean. I'm excited to have someone else help me out with this and talk to
Yeah.
people. And I think the interviews will be better with someone who's not necessarily and it's not new to the Ranger world, but not immersed in it as I am or Lauren
Yeah.
is,
Yeah,
and
fair enough.
I'm with the journalistic sensibilities and stuff. So
Very
it'll be good.
good. Yeah.
You know what different questions to ask and what
Sure.
questions will answer will interest the general public and stuff. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you've done so well in bringing awareness
thank
to
you.
the issue of concussions, that I'm excited to help you do that for sure.
And the article, the series article you wrote in 2011 about brain injury, the six-part series.
Six-part series, and
Where can people find that? Can they find it online?
yeah, so I think we switched platforms, and so some of our archives, like online, disappeared from our website, but they're slowly coming back. So if it's not back now, I can, it'll be back. But it's called The Wounded Brain. So anybody who searches my name can find, if you search The Wounded Brain, the Telegram, you'll find it. It's six-part series that I did, yeah. So and it starts with Dr. Marolo and it ends with yours. Yours, the last one. You had a great
And Heather Watkins Also,
Heather Watkins was in it
yes,
too. Yeah, she was in a
and
motorcycle.
she's a Dr. Malot's student, or not student, but assistant.
She is, and she's very, very, very knowledgeable. She had a motorcycle accident herself, so she's overcome a whole lot as well,
Yeah,
and
I've met her a
treated
few times.
her life like you did. She was doing epidemiology, I believe, with Dr. Marlowe, and she's fantastic, fantastic. Has she
Right.
been? You interviewed her on the
I haven't
podcast?
interviewed her yet, but so if
She's
she's
great.
listening, reach out to me, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I probably have her email address somewhere, but
yeah, I can connect you with her.
but
Yeah, she's
just
great.
maybe we could interview her together. You
Sounds
could
good.
kind of reminisce. But
Sounds great.
it's and I've got some. There are obviously a bunch of people that I'd like to interview, and next month is June is Brain Injury Awareness Month in Canada,
Yeah,
and I would hope to talk to the Brain Injury Association of Newfoundland and
yeah,
Labrador, and
yeah.
Brain Injury Canada. So
Perfect.
I talked to Heather Michelle McDonald of
Yes,
Brain Injury Canada in early
yes.
April. We talked about when this was just early, when the pandemic was early on, but they had
Yeah,
set up
I,
a serious system of challenges for brain injured people. And
I'll listen to that one.
yes, well, great. And that was with Charlie Skinner, who's also she hosted that one, but just one. And
Yeah.
but she was on episode 52, maybe on 54. I don't want to. Anyway, she's also on the podcast, but you're anyway. Weeks too far, 50 some odd. Um, but yeah, but thank you, Tara, and I'm very excited to have a co-host, and I think this will be a great, I don't say addition, but a great new reformation to the podcast.
I love it. Thank you so much, Nick. Thanks for
Thanks,
everything that you do. Thank
thanks,
you.
thanks a lot. Thank you all for listening, and please check www.concussiontalk.com for more about my blog and my podcasts, and hopefully soon links to the series of stories Tara did about brain injury 9 years ago, called The Wounded Brain by Tara Bradbury. As always, music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.